Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jeffrey, here in Mumbai, shooting the Indian edition of Worldmakers. Mumbai is the gateway to India's business and advertising communities, and of course Bollywood. To be world made, you need to know India. Today on Worldmakers, we'll meet the storytellers, entrepreneurs, and inventors, making India a global leader for innovation and imagination. Welcome to Worldmakers, and I'm here in Mumbai, India, with Akhil Gupta. What do you think are some of the myths or learnings from a U.S. perspective that need to be absorbed about what's going on here in India?
So, Bob, when I went to Stanford, India was a very closed economy. We didn't know much about the world, and U.S. was a window to the rest of the world for me. And what I had to take 4 or 5 years to come to the conclusion that at the deep down we are all same is something that technology is going to accomplish for all of us in a much shorter period of time.
I always associate technology with Stanford because you think about the impact graduates of Stanford have had, whether it's Scott McNealy from Sun or Google and so on. How do you feel technology has affected you in a personal way, given the history you've had?
So it's interesting you say that, and you forgot to mention my classmate, Steve Ballmer.
Steve Ballmer, right.
Steve Ballmer was my classmate, and I very much remember when he came and delivers the news that he's not coming for the second year. I said, Steve, you're out of your mind. How can you? And he had job offers from every top consulting firm, every investment banks. And I said, what are you doing? And I remember when we got together for our 25th reunion, he did remind everyone that if I had listened to this fellow, I would be $20 billion poorer. Steve Ballmer took the risk, and I was not prepared to take the risks. And when you take risk and explore the unknown, when you're exploring technology like we are in the Silicon Valley, then I think clearly in 30 years' time, the world is so different than I could have imagined. The internet technology to me is a platform on which we are going to bring all this diversity to the entire humanity.
And what's interesting is if you look at the role that mobile or the phone has played in even the rural parts of India, in terms of giving people access to tools and services and information about commodity prices and so on. I mean, what's your perspective on that? Because again, you've had the perspective of
you're absolutely right.
both
I
worlds.
think if you look at the government of India, they have an agenda to give broadband to the entire country, I think the next 2-3 years' time. I think government of India also realizes that if we have to better the lot of our billion people, it will be done through education, it will be done through technology, it will be done through industrialization.
Now, Unilever is a very successful, important company here in India. It's also one of our more important clients that we've had around the world for actually over 100 years. I mean, now that you have the lens of having worked in the U.S. and accomplished all that you have, I mean, what advice would you have about Unilever or any marketer in India in terms of the growing middle class and really how to leverage that part of what's going on in India?
I would want us to be much more entrepreneurial than we were. Because I actually discovered my entrepreneurship, the hidden entrepreneur that I was, and to the potential that Hindustan Unilever had in terms of the best quality management, the depth of management, and harness the potential of those 150 CEOs within Hindustan Unilever. You can imagine all what we could have done.
I didn't know that. That's an amazing fact, but I'm fascinated by the whole notion of taking risks because I had my own entrepreneurial background and now I'm running JWT worldwide. And one of the things I always talk about is we need to think of ourselves as a billion-dollar startup because I think you've got to push people to think of themselves in a startup mentality.
Right.
Because otherwise you're not going to get the innovation, you're not going to get the growth. Years ago, I read that Thomas Friedman book, The World is Flat. In one aspect of that book, I remember he was contrasting Europe with India, and he said in Europe they have a 36-hour work week, but in India they have a 36-hour work day. And to me, that really captured the respect and fascination we have with India in terms of innovation and being entrepreneurial. What's your perspective on that?
But I tell you what fascinates me about India now, becoming a global citizen. The best way to describe India is a museum of human history. So, which means we have every religion. You have a 10th century thinker and a 21st century thinker. You have 10th century behaviors and 21st century behavior. India has the most amount of variation that any other civilization, any other country has today in terms of just ideas. And with our vibrant democracy, with all the restrictions having lifted, and the technology is really making that work faster. In terms of evolution, I have to submit to you that India has the potential to evolve much more than any other country in the world. And that's what makes me, on a long term, very, very hopeful about India.
So that's a great sense of optimism, and that's a great way to end the interview. So thanks for your time, Akhil.
Thank you, Bob.
And I'll see you in New York the next time.
Look forward to it.
And thank you for joining us on Worldmakers in Mumbai.